Hello, you, and welcome back to Medium with a Mic. I'm Kari Bandle, and today I'm going to be talking about transformative and misunderstood energetic phenomenon happening in human bodies right now. Kundalini awakening and the five gates of your spine. This topic sits at the intersection of ancient spiritual wisdom, modern neuroscience, and some genuinely fascinating historical theories about human origin and evolution. We're going to explore all of it, and we're going to do it in a way that honors both the sacred and the scientific, just the way I like it. So let's begin. Before we even talk about what Kundalini is, I want you to notice something. Look around at the symbols of healing and medicine in our modern world. The snake symbol in our modern medical fields represents the knowledge of DNA and its double helix, as well as genetics. The caduceus is that symbol of medicine with two serpents intertwined around a staff. The rod of Asclepius is another serpent. In ancient Egypt, the uraeus, the sacred serpent, was a symbol of divine protection and spiritual power. In Mesoamerica, Quetzalcoatl, the feathered or sacred serpent, represented wisdom and spiritual transformation. In Hindu and Yogic traditions, the Naga or the serpent deity is associated with Kundalini energy and cosmic consciousness. Do you see the pattern? Across virtually every ancient civilization, from Egypt to India to Mesopotamia to the Americas, the serpent was revered as a symbol of healing, wisdom, transformation, and divine power. This is not a coincidence. It is recognition of something real. These ancient cultures were documenting something they understood about human consciousness and human energy. They were showing us through symbol and story that within our bodies lives a transformative force that looks and moves like a serpent. And they understood that awakening this force was central to spiritual evolution. Now, here's where I venture into territory that some may find controversial, but I believe it's worth exploring with an open mind. There's a theory, supported by ancient texts like the Sumerian Kings List and the work of researchers like Zecharia Sitchin, that suggests our DNA was deliberately altered by an advanced extraterrestrial civilization known as the Anunnaki on their base called Eden, E-DIN. The term was believed to refer to a plain or a landscape sanctuary, an outdoor laboratory where the Anunnaki cultivated new life. There was a forbidden knowledge, or in our Bible, forbidden fruit, which was in part the truth about human origins and potential, which in theory the Anunnaki wanted to keep from humans to maintain their subservient position. So, according to this theory, Anunnaki came to Earth thousands of years ago and genetically modified early humans to serve as workers. But here's the crucial part: they didn't just change our physical bodies, they also encoded us within our DNA the potential for spiritual awakening and connection to higher consciousness. Why am I telling you this in an episode about Kundalini? Because if this theory holds any truth, then Kundalini isn't just an energy that emerged from spiritual practice. It's part of our original blueprint. It's a dormant activation code that's been waiting inside of us, passed down through our genetics, waiting for the right moment in human evolution to awaken. Whether you believe in the Anunnaki theory or not, consider this. We are living In a new age, the age of Aquarius, a grand awakening, a time when more people than ever are experiencing spontaneous Kundalini awakenings. We are living in a time of rapid collective consciousness expansion. Something is changing in humanity, and it's happening along the same pathway, our spine, that these ancient cultures kept pointing to. So let's define what I'm actually talking about here. Kundalini comes from Sanskrit and means coiled serpent. In yogic and Hindu philosophy, Kundalini is described as a dormant spiritual energy that resides at the base of your spine, in the sacral area of your tailbone and sacrum. Think of your spine as a sacred antenna. Your central nervous system runs through it. That's your brain's communication highway to your entire body. Every sensation, every thought, every emotion travels through your spine. But beyond the purely physical, your spine also houses an energetic pathway. And at the base of that pathway sits Kundalini, coiled, waiting, dormant in most people until something awakens it. When Kundalini awakens, it begins to rise up through your spine, moving through energetic gateways, what we call the five gates. As it rises, it activates dormant spiritual capacities. It opens your perception. It can heal old trauma. It can catalyze profound spiritual experiences. And yes, it can also be intense, disoriented, and sometimes even uncomfortable if you're not prepared for it. Kundalini doesn't wake up on its own. Something has to trigger it, and that trigger is different for every person. For some, it's dedicated spiritual practice like meditation, Kundalini yoga, breath work, or energy work. For others, it's a spontaneous experience, a near death experience, a moment of profound grief, a sudden spiritual insight, or even a powerful moment of joy or love. Some people experience it through trauma, the body's way of initiating a healing process. And increasingly, I'm seeing people experience spontaneous Kundalini awakenings with no obvious trigger at all. They simply wake up one day and something has shifted. We're in a time of collective awakening. The veil between the spiritual and physical is thinning. More people are being called to consciousness, whether they're ready or not. And when Kundalini starts to rise without warning, people need to understand what's happening to them. Let me describe what people commonly experience when Kundalini begins to stir. Physical sensations, heat moving up the spine, tingling or electricity along the vertebrae, pressure in the lower back or tailbone. Some people describe it as feeling like a coiled spring beginning to unwind. Others describe spontaneous movements, swaying, jerking, or involuntary muscle contractions. Some people experience spontaneous breath work. Their breath becomes deep and rhythmic without them controlling it. Emotional experiences, waves of emotions that seem to come from nowhere, deep crying or laughing, spontaneous feelings of love or compassion, old memories surfacing so they can be processed and released, emotional intensity that can feel overwhelming, spiritual experiences, expanded awareness, moments of profound peace or bliss, intuitive downloads, sudden knowing without explanation, visions or heightened perception, a sense that you're being guided or protected by something greater than yourself. Mental shifts, new perspectives on old problems, sudden clarity about your life direction, a deep knowing that something fundamental has changed. Sometimes confusion or disorientation as your mind tries to make sense of experiences that don't fit into your previous understanding of reality. If you've experienced any of these, you may already be in the early stages of Kundalini awakening. And that's not something to fear, it's something to understand and work with consciously. Now, let's talk about the structure of this awakening as Kundalini energy rises from the base of your spine. It moves through 5 distinct energetic gateways. Think of these gates as locks on a sacred door. Each gate, when unlocked, opens a new level of consciousness, healing, and spiritual capacity. Gate 1, the root, the tailbone, and sacrum. This is where everything begins. The first gate sits at the very base of your spine in the sacrum and tailbone area. This is your foundation. This is where your sense of safety, survival, and grounding lives. When Kundalini first stirs at this gate, you might feel intense heat, pressure, or a buzzing sensation in your lower back or tailbone. You might experience spontaneous movements, hip thrusts, swaying, or the urge to move your lower body. Emotionally, this gate is connected to your primal survival instincts and your sense of safety in the world. When this gate begins to open, deep fears can surface. You may feel vulnerable or exposed. Old survival patterns, things you've held on to because they made you feel safe, begin to loosen. But this gate opens more fully, or as it opens, you also access deep courage, grounding, and a sense of being held by life itself. Gate 2, the sacral center or lower abdomen. As the energy moves upward, it reaches your sacral region, your lower stomach and reproductive area. This gate is the center of creativity, sexuality, and emotional flow and pleasure. When Kundalini moves through this gate, people often experience a rush of creative energy. Artists suddenly feel inspired. Writers find their voice. People who felt creatively blocked for years suddenly experience a flood of ideas. You might also experience heightened emotions, increased sensuality, or a desire to create, whether that's art, movement, music, or life changes. This gate can also bring up old wounds around sexuality, shame, or pleasure. As it opens, these old patterns surface to be healed and released as Kundalini moves through this gate. Gate 3 is the solar plexus, your power center. So, moving higher, we reach your solar plexus, this area around your navel and upper abdomen. This is the seat of your personal power, your will, your sense of self, and your ability to manifest in the world. When Kundalini reaches this gate, you're directly confronting your relationship with power, all the places where you've given your power away, where you've dimmed your light, where you've accepted less than you deserve. These come up for healing. You might experience intense emotions as old patterns of self doubt, powerlessness, or shame surface. You might have moments where you feel your power returning, a sense of, I can do this, I deserve this, I'm ready to be seen. Some people experience spontaneous sounds, growls, roars, or strong toning as they reclaim their voice and their power. This gate can feel intense, but it's incredibly liberating. As it opens, you step into your authentic power and your ability to create the life you actually want. Gate 4, the heart, the center of love. Oh, this one, the fourth gate. The heart is where so many people feel the profound shift most deeply. This is the center of love, both love for others and love for yourself. Compassion, forgiveness, connection. When Kundalini reaches your heart, you're being invited into the deepest healing available to human consciousness, unconditional love. When this gate opens, people often describe spontaneous experiences of overwhelming love, forgiveness, or gratitude. Some cry, some laugh uncontrollably, some stand in their kitchen and suddenly feel such deep love for their family, their life, or humanity itself that they can barely stand it. All of it is welcome. All of it is the heart opening. This gate can also bring up deep grief, grief of losses you haven't fully processed, for connections you've lost, for parts of yourself that you've had to leave behind. As this gate opens, you're invited to feel all of it, to love it all, to forgive it all, especially yourself. Many people experience spontaneous devotion or spiritual awakening at this gate. You might feel a profound connection to someone or something greater than yourself. Your capacity for empathy and compassion expands dramatically. The fifth gate sits in your throat and extends upward. This is the center of authentic expression, your voice, your truth, and your purpose. When Kundalini reaches this gate, you feel called to speak, to express, to share, to step into your authentic voice and your authentic power in the world. People who've been silenced by family, by culture, by fear, suddenly find their voice. Writers write, teachers teach, healers heal, speakers speak. This gate is also connected to your ability to listen, truly listen to your intuition, to your higher guidance. As this gate opens, your connection to your inner knowing becomes clearer and clearer. You might experience spontaneous toning, singing, or speaking in tongues. You might feel called to share your gifts with the world in a way you never have before. You might finally feel brave enough to say things you've always been afraid to say. Here's what's important to understand. This is not a linear journey. You don't move through the gates once and you're done. Kundalini awakening is an ongoing process of deepening, expanding, and integrating these energies into your life. You might find yourself cycling through the same gate multiple times, each time going deeper, healing more, understanding more. You might have experiences at multiple gates simultaneously. You might feel stuck at one gate for a while, and that's okay. That's probably where the healing is happening. The key is to stay present with the process. Don't try to skip ahead. Don't try to force your kundalini upward. The energy knows where it needs to go and what needs to be healed, and your job is to support the process. Stay grounded and allow the transformation to unfold. One of the most accessible and powerful tools you can use to support your Kundalini awakening is breath work. So I'm going to teach you a couple of techniques that work beautifully with this process. The first is box breathing for grounding and calm. This is a simple but powerful technique, and it's excellent when you're feeling overwhelmed, anxious, or flooded by Kundalini sensations. So here's how it works. You breathe in for a count of 4. You hold for a count of 4. Breathe out for a count of 4. Hold empty for a count of 4. And then you repeat. So the pattern is inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, exhale for 4 counts, then hold empty 2, 3, 4, and repeat. The beauty of this technique is that it calms your nervous system. It brings you into the present moment, and it gives you something to focus on when you're in the middle of intense Kundalini sensations. So practice this for 5 to 10 minutes, and you'll feel noticeably calmer and more grounded. This is another one to try. This is a yogic breathing technique called Nadi Shodhana, or alternative nostril breathing. It's used in Kundalini yoga specifically to balance the flow of energy through your spine. Here's how it works. Close your right nostril with your right thumb. Inhale through your left nostril for a count of 4. Close your left nostril with your right ring finger and exhale through your right nostril for a count of 4. Now inhale through your right nostril for a count of 4. Close your right nostril and exhale through your left and repeat. So the pattern is left in, right out, right in, left out, left in, right out, and so on. This technique balances the Ida and Pingala, the two main energy channels that run on either side of your spine. It helps direct Kundalini energy upward in a balanced way. Practice this for 5 to 10 minutes daily, and you'll notice increased clarity, calm, and a sense of energetic balance. Both of these techniques are safe, accessible, and powerful. They give you tools to work with your Kundalini energy consciously. Beyond breath work, gentle movement is one of the most helpful things you can do in a Kundalini awakening. And this is where I could absolutely do an entire episode on Kundalini yoga, Tai Chi, and sacred movement practices, which I probably will do. But for now, know this: your body wants to move during a Kundalini awakening. Spontaneous movements are completely normal and actually beneficial. Some people experience spontaneous swaying, hip movements, or spinal undulations. Some people feel called to dance, and some called to walk in nature. The key is to honor these impulses, don't suppress them. Let your body do what it needs to do. This is part of the integration process. Modern neuroscience is beginning to document what ancient spiritual traditions have always known. Researchers are studying the vagus nerve, a major nerve that runs from your brain down through your spine to your organs. They're finding that meditation, breath work, and spiritual practices activate the vagus nerve in specific ways that create states of calm, healing, and expanded awareness. They're studying altered states of consciousness and discovering that genuine spiritual experiences create measurable changes in the brain activity and nervous system function. The line between this is spiritual and this is scientific is getting thinner every day. What the ancients called Kundalini, modern science is beginning to understand as an activation of the central and peripheral nervous system that creates profound shifts in consciousness and healing. You don't have to choose between science and spirit. They're describing the same phenomenon from different angles. I want to close today's episode by talking about something bigger than any of us because I think it's the context for everything we've discussed today. We are living in a time of collective awakening. And I don't say that lightly. I say it because I see it in my practice, in my readings, in the people who reach out to me. People are waking up at a rate on a grand scale in this new age of Aquarius. The questions I'm being asked have shifted. The experiences people are reporting have deepened. Whether you believe that this awakening is part of a cosmic cycle, a divine plan, a planetary shift in frequency, or a natural evolution of human consciousness, the evidence is all around us. People who have never considered themselves spiritual are having profound spiritual experiences. People are questioning everything, their purpose, their relationships, their values, their reality. The old structures that once gave us certainty are crumbling, and in their place, something new is being born. And I believe that Kundalini awakening is part of this. That as the collective consciousness rises, it is actually activating dormant energy in human bodies all over the world. That the serpent is rising, that the gates are opening, and that you're part of that. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to understand everything I talked about today perfectly. You just need to stay open, pay attention to your body, trust what you feel, and know that whatever is stirring in you, however it's showing up, it is not something to be afraid of. It is something to be welcomed. If today's episode resonated with you, I would love to hear from you. Share this episode with someone who's been feeling something they can't explain. Leave a comment, subscribe, or a thumbs up to help me grow. Send me a message through my website or buy me a coffee on my podcast page at sacredwhispers1111.com to help me continue this weekly labor of love. Until next time, trust what you feel, honor what you know, and keep listening to yourself and those whispers of wisdom.